Hi loves, welcome back to the channel Side by C. Today's tutorial will be on how to recreate this beautiful piece I'm putting on, but our main concentration will not be on how to recreate the upper parts, which is the bustier area. Just subscribe to the channel, share to friends, don't forget to give us a thumbs up. See you in our next tutorial. Thank you so much. So this is our basic body. This is our shoulder slope, armhole, our chest line, the bust measurements, the under bust, and our waistline. Okay, so now the next thing we are going to do is to insert our nipple to nipple measurements, which is 4 inches. So I'm going to mark it on the bust line. I'm also going to mark it at the under bust on my waistline. I'm going to connect a rule, connect the 3 points using a rule. Having done this now, I'm going to come to my waistline and the under bust. This inward, I'm going to mark 1 inch inside. Then the outer part, I'm going to mark 1.25 inches. Then I'm going to connect the points together. So this is what I have. Having done this now, I'm going to link it up to the bust point using the curved part of this rule. So this is what I have. Then the same thing to the other side. This is what I have. Now I'm going to determine, because this is an off-shoulder bustier with strap, though the strap has some pleats on it. Now we're going to determine where you want your bustier to start from. Okay, so we'll check the difference between your bust measurements, bust points, and the under bust. So I have 3 inches. That is the difference. So now I'm going to be coming up from the bust points. I'm going to mark my 3 inches upwards. Note, you can decide to work with from the upper part of, from the start point of your distance, from your shoulder line, you mark 6 inches, which is totally fine. You can decide to mark 7 inches. You can decide to mark 6.5, 8 inches, depending on how exposed you want your cleavage to be. So this is at 6.75 inches, but I want it to be at 6.5 inches. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and make a rule across. Okay, I forgot to place the measurements for the basic body. My chest line is at 7.5 inches, 8.5 inches. 8.5 inches because I'm starting from this start point line, but from the shoulder slope is 7.5 inches. My bust point is at 10 inches. The under bust is at 13 inches. Okay, so now the next thing we're going to do, we're going to divide what we have left on our shoulder, that is the shoulder slope, into 2 to get the midpoints. So this is the midpoint, and I'm going to be connecting it to the bust point. And this is what we have. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to be tightening our over bust. This is our over bust. We have already tightened our under bust, so we're tightening our over bust now. So I'm going to be marking 0.75 inches on both sides. You can decide to work with 1 inch. It's fine. So I will work with 1 inch for this tutorial. 1 inch on both sides of the line. Then you connect it to the bust measurements or the bust point. And this is what we have. Okay, now the next thing to do is we're going to be inserting these measurements we removed from our bodies, our pattern paper, into the main bodies. So for my bust measurements, I have 8.5 inches, which is here. For the waist measurements, we have 7.5 inches. sorry, 7.25 inches. So now I'm going to take the measurement of what I have here. I have 2.5 inches, 2.25 inches. So I'm going to be adding it back to my pattern paper. Okay, then I'm going to add 1 inch for stitching allowance. I'll come to my chest line, which is here, measure what I have. I have 1 inch. I'm going to add it back here plus 1 inch stitching allowance, making it 2. Okay, the same thing here. We remove 2 inches here. We are going to be adding it back to this piece. So for this, I'm adding only 1/2 inch. You can decide to add 1 inch to it. Now the next thing to do is we are still going to be adding extra seam allowance. That is our actual seam allowance to our dress, which is 2 inches. Then I'll go ahead and retrace my armhole. And this is what I have. Then I'm going to connect these points together this way. All right, so now what next should we do? That is the next question. We're going to be making our sweetheart neck on this pattern paper. So from this point now, I'm going to be connecting it to my chest line. You can decide to come down by 1/2 inch or 1 inch below your chest line, depending on how deep you want your sweetheart to be. So mine will be 1/2 inch or a few inches below my chest line. And this is what I have. Okay, now for this area, we're also going to be curving it into our chest line. So from this point now, I'm going to be making a curve into my chest line this way. So this is what I'm going to have. So this is what we have for our bustier. Now we're going to go ahead and measure what we have from this shoulder line down. So we have 6.5 inches. We're going to keep note of this 6.5 inches because we're going to be using it to cut out our strap. Now we're going to go ahead and cut out this pattern paper. So let's go ahead with the cutting out of our piece. So this is what it looks like. Now we're going to be transferring this to our fabric. Okay, so this is for my basic body, for my back piece. This is my zip allowance. Then from this up here, now I'm going to be marking 16.5 inches, which is the half length we are working with. Okay, this is the shoulder slope. This is our armhole. Divide your armhole into 2 to create your curve. Coming by 1/2 inch. Then at this point now, we're going to be inserting our bust measurements, which is 8.5 inches. Please note you're not working with this upper part, it's just this area we need. So after marking this, you insert your sewing allowance, which is 2 inches. go ahead and make your curve. And this is what I have here. Then on the waistline, I'm going to insert my waist measurement. So my waist measurement is 7.25 inches plus 2 inches stitching allowance. Then I'm connecting these 2 points together. This is what I have. So this is for my back piece. I marked this to know where to work with. Alright, so this is the side, this is the center. Then the next thing I'm going to measure is what I have here. I have 8.5 inches. Okay, and I'm going to note it here, 8.5 inches. We'll be using it to work on our strap. Now I'm going to cut this out. For my back piece, this is where my back piece is going to stop. It's going to be stopping on the chest line. I'm going to go ahead and cut this out. After cutting this, I'm going to transfer this to my fabric. And note, please also cut out a lining piece for each of your pieces. So guys, I've gone ahead to transfer my pieces, my pattern paper to my fabrics, and this is for my front piece. Okay, and I'm also gone ahead to cut out my breast wadding for each part. Now I'm going to join the pieces together. Alright, that's what I'm going to go ahead to do now. So this is my strap that is 34 inches long. Alright, so now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to be marking, we're going to divide it into two, mark 2 inches on all of them. Like starting from here now, I'm going to divide it into 2. I'll be marking 2 inches. Till I get to the end of the fabric. We're having a shortage here. So this is what we have. We have 2 inches marked. Now the next thing we're going to do is to join them. Alright, so I'm going to pick this first one now. These are 2 inches, and I'm going to pick it to meet the third line. I'm not going to meet this second line. I'm going to be meeting the third line, which is here. Alright, then I'm going to pin it down. I'm going to pick this one, this line that is here, to meet this one, this line that is here. I'm going to skip this one. Okay, the same thing, I'm going to pick this one, skip this second one to meet the third one. Alright, I'll still repeat it till I get to the end of the fabric. Alright, and this is what we have when we are done. Okay, so if you want yours to be more longer, what you have to do is just make your fabric to be lengthy. Alright, so now this is our strap that is going to be on the shoulder, that is going to be holding this. Okay, so I went ahead to iron it down, folding a little bit of ends inside and ironed it. Now I'm going to be placing this inside this piece. Okay, but first thing first, I'm going to measure what I have here. I have 17 inches, so I'm going to find the midpoint of my 17 inches, which is 8.5 here. Then I'm going to measure this. I have 9 inches, so which is at 4.5 inches. That's the center of this, and this is the center of this. So what I have to do is just to open it up this way, place this in between these two ends like this, and cover it up. So having done this now, I'm going to go ahead and run a stitch on it. So now the stitch we're going to be running is the top stitch. We're going to from this end, the top stitch, and get to this part. Okay, so that's what we're going to go ahead to do now. So having done it, this is what I have. This is what it looks like. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and join this to my bustier, the back and the front. So guys, now the next thing I wanted to do was to fix it in between my lining and my main fabric. Okay, after joining the two of them together. So this is my strap in between. Okay, and I've gone ahead to run a stitch on it. So I will notch the stitch so that it will lap very well. I'll notch this area. You need to pick up the scissors, go ahead and notch it. So having done this now, I will pull it out. Then I'm going to go ahead and fix my back, this to my back piece. All right, so this is my back piece. I'm also going to fix this in between the lining and the fabric. Okay, I'm also going to go ahead and run a stitch on it, then pull it out. So that's what I'm going to do to the upper parts of my back piece now. So guys, when I'm done, this is what I have. This is my bustier. Okay, at this point now, I joined the down part of my skirt piece, the down part of the gown, which is the skirt piece, to the upper part of the bustier. This is our sleeve, our strap, and this is the back piece. Okay, so I also go ahead and join my back pieces together. All right, so that's what I'm going to go ahead to do now. I'm going to join the skirt part of it, then shape my dress.